In this lesson, we'll learn how textures can be projected onto other surfaces of our aircraft. Okay, so picking up right where we left off from our previous lesson, we have these textures that have been assigned to the main fuselage of our aircraft. Now let's come in and start to assign these to things like the wings as well as the tail fin. So to assign this same material to our wings, we could either use our material manager up here. Again, Control 7 to open this up. We could take this material and drag it onto the objects, or if we don't want to bother opening up our material manager, we can just simply select an object, go to Get Material, Assign Material, and now just steal the material directly off of the aircraft body. Now, again, keep in mind that as long as there are textures that are belonging to this, those textures will not show up on any object that does not have any kind of UVs that have been assigned to it. Again, any object that we make does not have any UVs, which means no textures will show up, and that's why this object still appears kind of this gray color. So just like what we've done before, we need to, anytime we use a texture on an object, we need to come in and make sure that we go to Get Property, Texture Projection, and then give it some kind of a projection. Now in our previous lesson we looked at a UV projection, which is only something that we can do with a NURBS, or a surface object. Now, because this is a polygon object, we're going to need to use something like a planar or a cylindrical or a spherical, one of these options. Now, what I would really like is for this same texture that we have here to be projected really kind of down from a top direction, so that way we can actually see the panels up on the wing itself. So in this case, it's very, very important to pay attention to these axis indicators right down here. So if I wanted this to be projected right down along the y-axis, what we need to do is basically look for the axis that's missing in our texture projection. So if we were to go ahead and rip this off, just make this a little bit easier to see, you can see we have planar XY, YZ, and XZ. Now again, I want this to project down along the y-axis, so I'm going to choose the option that has the y-axis missing. In our case, it's planar XZ. You can see as soon as I choose that, you can see now our texture is being projected from the top down. And we have this, what's called a texture support, that's actually controlling that projection direction. Now, if I choose the wrong axis, or projecting this from the wrong direction by accident, what we can do is just simply select our texture support, press the Enter key on our keyboard, and now we can come in and actually choose maybe a different direction if we need to. So you can see for most of these directions, it's projecting it in a way that is creating quite a bit of distortion. And if I wanted to, I could actually come in and adjust this texture support until it fits and is angled in a proper direction. But you'll notice as I start to change that again, lots and lots of distortion for most situations. So what I'm going to do is again just set this back to my XZ and make sure that my rotations have been zeroed out. Very good. So now this is exactly what I want. And what's nice is if I wanted my objects or my panels to maybe be a little bit larger, I could just grab this texture support, scale that out, and just that easily, we can start to adjust the size of this texture. I could also start to adjust this in any direction if I wanted this to maybe just repeat in one direction. So again, lots and lots of really, really nice control that we have here. So what I'll try to do is scale this up in a way to where we have really very little distortion as far as the actual image itself goes. So I might need to just scale this up a little bit more. And I'll try to position this in a way where the actual panels themselves along this front wing are lined up pretty closely as far as this actual direction here is concerned. So just trying to get these nice and well placed on the wing itself, and getting this set up to where we have, again, just kind of these couple of simple little panels on the wing. And I might go ahead and just move this one over, just so that this little seam right here on our texture is lined up pretty closely with this little raised area on our wing. Start to create just a little bit more visual detail there. Now, once I have my textures nice and lined up, It's really not something where we can come in and just simply grab that texture support and delete it, because this is really controlling the texture itself. So if I were to delete that texture support, it completely removes all the UVs, which in turn removes any display of our texture. So if I undo that, if I wanted to remove this texture support, it's just a matter of selecting my object and now freezing the transformations. And you can see as soon as I freeze my operators, that texture support is automatically removed. So I typically make that a point once I have my object set up to just go in and freeze the operators, and now that will remove any texture supports. Now this becomes kind of a tricky matter of if I were to come in and take this other wing and do another texture projection on it, it's going to be very, very difficult to have the textures match up perfectly with this wing over here. So in this case, it might actually just be the easiest thing to take this wing and then duplicate it back over to this opposite side. And whenever we duplicate it, now that we have the UVs that are properly set up, it will go ahead and take all that UV information over to the other side. So I'll go ahead and just take this wing and delete that. I'll select this new wing over here. We'll go to Edit, Duplicate Instantiate, and Duplicate Symmetry. I'll go ahead and set this to the YZ plane so that way it flips it across the X-axis. And there we go. So now we have this perfectly duplicated wing, and it saved us the trouble of having to reproject all the UVs all over again over here. Now, if you've already named your objects, you may need to come in here and rename this new wing. So this was left wing, and it's duplicated that as left wing 1. So I might just need to go in and rename that, so that way it's proper. I'll set that back to right wing. Now on this tail fin, we'll go ahead and do the exact same thing. So I'll grab this, and once again, just to very quickly assign that material. So get material, assign material. We can pick it from either of these objects. There we go. And again, no UVs, which means initially no textures. So looking at this, I want to project this probably down along my X-axis. So again, with this object selected, we'll go to Get Property, Texture Projection, and look for the option that has the X-axis missing, in our case, planar YZ. There we are. So now, again, grab my texture support. I can scale that up or down until I find just that right position. There we are, so we can go with something like that. Once we're done, just select my object, freeze the operators. That will remove the texture support, and now you can see that my texture is being assigned perfectly to that object. So again, I just want to emphasize that this has been a very, very simple look at the process of creating and assigning UVs to our objects to make sure that our textures are assigned properly. Now, if you want to learn more about this, again, I would very, very highly recommend going through our course titled UV Layout in Softimage, where again, we'll really break down this process and explore a much wider variety of tools that'll help you get a much greater level of control over the actual placement of your textures. So again, for now, that's been just a very basic look at how we can start to set up our UVs to control our texture placement on our objects.